Pennsylvania Congressman Dan Muser, meanwhile, dropping out of the race for the Speaker of the House last night, leaving 8 GOP candidates left. Lawmakers will hold a secret ballot in less than 90 minutes. They will vote for a nominee. Nebraska Congressman Don Bacon told reporters yesterday that he expects the House will have a new Speaker by tonight. Watch.
I think we have a great team in there. I think they're making some great cases. I think we'll have a speaker tomorrow night. I'm hopeful for it. I wish I could put.
So is it?
Yeah, but I think we'll have one selected tomorrow, and I think we got to make sure they have 217, and they'll get it on the floor.
Joining me right now is New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, a member of the House Ways and Means Committee. Congresswoman, good to see you. Do you agree with that? You'll have a speaker by tonight?
I'm pretty confident we're going to narrow it down to one. Of course, I think it's going to take a few ballots in our conference to get there, but really good presentations last night by all the potential speaker candidates, and I think that a few really stood out, and we'll see where that goes. The key thing is, Maria, a lot of these people were good front. I think Mike Johnson was excellent. I think Byron Donalds gave a very good presentation. I think Kevin Hern also gave a very good presentation as a business person and someone who's a steady hand, someone who's been running the Republican Study Committee, the largest caucus in the Republican side and in Congress. I also think Austin Scott made a very good argument on the other side. I mean, it's hard to say who it will come down to, but I think this is it. Who can bring the two factions together, the right and the left, so to speak, the moderates and the conservatives, and everyone in the middle together, and can unite the conference. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. Although I think, a lot of good presentations, some good ideas about how we go forward structurally, and who can avoid a motion to vacate, which was threatened by Matt Gaetz again last night.
Wow. So he wants to keep that rule. I thought you were looking to get rid of that rule where one person could actually take down the speaker the way Matt Gaetz did with Kevin McCarthy.
Well, I would like to see us move to more members being able to bring the motion to vacate. But really, that rule just comes down to what the votes you can get on the floor. One person can bring it. Can you get the votes on the floor? There was a question asked at the very last question by Matt Gaetz, and he said, "I'll hold everybody to it." And that was his last sort of veiled threat as he walked out of the room. So he's not done with stirring up some issues in the Republican conference yet, for sure. But look, he has the right to do that, and we'll move forward with whatever his mission is.
Congresswoman, let me get your take on where the common ground is. Do you feel that there is common ground on the investigations into the Biden family? I mean, we've talked a lot about the influence peddling. There were charges of bribery out of the House Oversight Committee. How much of the conference is for this investigation to move forward? And do you see pushback from some people?
Look, there is a substantial number. I would say the great majority of the conference. There's only a handful who I don't think are against what's happening, but they're concerned about their Biden leading districts and that we go down the road to impeachment again. And I will make this case to them. We actually have real crimes, real influence peddling coming from the Biden administration that were made up on the Trump administration. Look, everything was thrown at President Trump, including the kitchen sink, and they still have not been able to come out with anything because we found out how corrupt, and mostly through a lot of your exposure, Maria, we found out how corrupt our agencies are. The FBI, the CIA agents, the retired intelligence officers who lied in a letter about the laptop that with the explosive information from Hunter Biden on it. I mean, it just completely undermined our confidence in the FBI, the Department of Justice, the weaponization of government, which is so clear. So I think we all agree. The question is, can some of our Republican colleagues sell this in their very substantially large Biden districts that they were able to win?
I see. 2 members of the Department of Justice will appear before the House Judiciary Committee. This is this closed-door testimony this week, part of the committee's investigation into the Hunter Biden probe. It's happening as Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer this week revealed a $200,000 check sent directly to Joe Biden from his brother James and his sister-in-law Sarah. Remember, at this time, James was still getting paid by the Chinese. Back in June, Biden slammed the Republicans' investigation into his finances. Here's what he said back then. Watch.
The bribery allegation. Congresswoman Nancy Mace says there's damning evidence in the FBI file that you sold out the country. Do you have a response to the congressional Republicans?
Where's the money? I'm joking.
Mr. President,
It's a bunch of malarkey.
You know, it's interesting the way he taunts everybody. Where's the money? Where's the money? It's like it's a taunt, you know, Congresswoman. And look, to be clear, they made it real difficult to find the money because while he was vice president, according to James Comer, the oversight chairman, Joe Biden and his family set up 20 shell companies where money was moving into these shell companies and eventually distributed to family members. So when he says, where's the money, he means it because they made it real complicated to find the money. It looks like James Comer is finding the money, though.
Yes, he is. And that, you know, just shows the colossal arrogance of Joe Biden and the fact that he's been able to get away with this for so long and that he's using the most powerful arms of government, FBI, DOJ, and everyone, including the IRS. Look how hard it was for us to get that information. If it had not been for our very slim majority and Jason Smith creating the whistleblower portal, we wouldn't even know about all the bombshell testimony that came from the two whistleblowers from the IRS and all that we learned from that. And we continue to go down and try to figure out what it is. Yes, it is a complex web, but Joe Biden knows. And I'll tell you something I learned in law school. The criminal lawyer or criminal professor that I had said, at some point, in some way, you will learn as you study criminal law that at one point, criminals will always lead you to the body one way or another. And Joe Biden, with his arrogance and his denial and his really the daring, go ahead, find the money. Well, we are finding the money. The question is, when will Merrick Garland and Lisa Monaco, who really runs the Department of Justice, actually do something and prosecute? Look at them going after these innocent parents at school board meetings, yet they don't. We have a major corruption scheme on our hands with the president of the United States, covered up by these important and very powerful arms of our government, while we have a war raging in the Middle East. We have a war in Europe, unprecedented at this time and for this era. And where's Joe Biden running around on the beach and doing other things, and trying to avoid this? And earlier, Maria, I heard you talking about Gavin Newsom. He's waiting in the wings. He can barely even contain himself. He's probably going to be the likely nominee. The Democrats cannot go forward with Joe Biden, especially now when you see that the polls are showing President Trump is actually beating Joe Biden in the swing states where all of this election is going to be decided and where the Democrats have pumped almost $1 billion for electioneering, for vote harvesting and everything they can, just like they did in 2020. They're going to try to squeak by and prime the pump and get as many voters out to vote for Joe Biden as they can using their proxies. And here we are again, and the Republicans need to follow suit. We need to do legal vote harvesting and be on top of it where the Democrats were. That was a main question I had for all the speaker candidates last night. And everyone pretty much said, almost all said that we have got to invest in this. We've got to do what we can, get out early voting, get our vote harvesting. And I say vote harvesting, make sure we do it legally where we can. It's legal in New York and other places. I'll tell you, Maria, I turned what was a Trump plus 17 in my district into a plus almost 34 district by encouraging people to vote early, going to new voters and people who haven't voted in the past. We need to do that as Republicans. We've got to get every vote out that we can because the Democrats are way ahead of us already.
So do you think your colleagues in the conference get it in terms of getting out early, in terms of managing mail-in, and doing some of the legwork that the Democrats are obviously doing every election?
Yes, well, I asked every one of the speaker candidates. Most of them were positive about that and said that they would continue to work on that. I mean, look, we have to raise money, Maria. I'm just giving you the grass. These are the real like brass tacks. Look, we have to raise a lot of money to win these tough elections, but we also have to have process. We can't just win on policy like the Democrats. We have to win on process. We have to have policy and process.
Yeah, for sure. Congressman, real quick before you go, on this request that Joe Biden is asking for, tying all the money together, money to Israel, money to Ukraine. He's talking about the border humanitarian aid for Palestinians. Is it going to pass the House?
Well, I introduced a bill Friday because the big tickle and problem here is Ukraine. I asked for a separate single issue bill, a $14 billion appropriation for Israel. I'm also part of What is the Mission Act, which is going to say I'm not against Ukraine, but the Biden administration has to be clear. Are we looking for regime change? What are we doing in the mission in Ukraine before we continue to fund that war while we have a war in Israel? So hopefully that will be resolved sooner rather than later by the Biden administration.
All right, Congressman, good to see you as always. Claudia Tenney, thank you.
Thanks so much.